Ladies and gentlemen, many times in life we face storms, financial struggles, health issues, broken relationships, and disappointments. In those moments, doubt whispers, "Where is God?" But I am here to remind you that God is not absent. He is not ignoring you. He is working behind the scenes, orchestrating a divine plan that is beyond your understanding. Underscore, 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 underscore. Underscore, 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 underscore. God's faithfulness is eternal. You see, the systems of this world fail, leaders fail, friends fail, even family can fail. But God does not fail. He is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should change his mind. When he speaks, he fulfills. When he promises, he delivers. From the beginning of time, God has proven his faithfulness. He provided for Abraham. He protected Joseph in Egypt. He guided Moses through the Red Sea, and he strengthened David to defeat Goliath. That same God is alive today. His power has not diminished. His promises are still true. So if you are facing a crisis today, do not panic, do not fear. God has not abandoned you. Keep trusting. Underscore, 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 underscore. Testing strengthens trust. Trusting God does not mean life will be easy. Faith is not an escape from trials. It is the power to overcome them. God allows difficulties to refine us, to build our character, and to prepare us for greater responsibilities. Look at Joseph. He was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. But he never lost faith. Why? Because he knew that God was in control. And in the end, Joseph rose to power and saved nations from famine. Your struggle today is not the end of your story. It is the preparation for your victory. Keep trusting. Underscore, 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 underscore. The power of vision and purpose. The reason many people lose faith is because they do not understand God's purpose for their lives. When you know your purpose, you will have the strength to endure challenges. Jesus himself endured suffering because he had a vision. He knew why he came to the earth. Even in the face of betrayal, pain, and death, he trusted God's plan. You must have the same mindset. Your life is not random. You were created with a purpose. And if you walk in that purpose, God will provide everything you need. Strength, wisdom, opportunities, and resources. Underscore, 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 underscore. Trust activates divine provision. Trusting God is not passive. It requires action. When you trust, you step out in faith. When you step out in faith, doors open. When you move forward, provision follows. Look at Peter. When he saw Jesus walking on water, he asked, "Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you." Jesus said, "Come." Peter trusted and stepped out of the boat. And as long as his eyes were on Jesus, he walked on water. Likewise, if you keep your eyes on God, you will walk on what others sink in. God will provide. He will make a way where there is no way. He will open doors no man can shut. Underscore, 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 underscore. My friends, God will never fail you. People may walk away, circumstances may change, but God's faithfulness remains unshaken. So no matter what you are going through, keep trusting, stand firm, hold on to His promises. Your best days are not behind you, they are ahead of you. God will never fail you. God's faithfulness is not just a concept. It is a reality woven into the fabric of existence. Everything in creation speaks of His unchanging nature. The sun rises and sets every day without fail. The seasons change in their appointed times, and the laws of nature remain consistent. If God can sustain the universe with such precision, how much more will He sustain the lives of those who trust in Him? Unlike human beings who change their minds, break promises, and fail to uphold commitments, God remains steadfast. His word is eternal. His character is unshakable. And His promises never fail. Throughout history, we see a pattern of God's faithfulness. He made a covenant with Noah and kept it, ensuring that the earth would never again be destroyed by a flood. He promised Abraham that his descendants would be as numerous as the stars, and despite all odds, that promise came to pass. He led the Israelites out of Egypt, parting the Red Sea, providing manna from heaven, and guiding them with a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. Even when they were unfaithful, God remained true to His word. His faithfulness was never based on their perfection, but on His unchanging nature. The beauty of God's faithfulness is that it is independent of circumstances. People often judge God based on their experiences. When things go well, they acknowledge His goodness. But when difficulties arise, they question His presence. However, God's faithfulness is not dictated by human emotions or external situations. He is just as faithful in the storm as He is in the calm. When life is tough, it does not mean that God has abandoned us. Rather, it is in those moments that His faithfulness becomes even more evident. He walks with us through every valley, strengthens us in every trial, and provides for us in every need. One of the greatest assurances of God's faithfulness is His word. The scriptures are filled with declarations of His steadfast love and commitment to His people. In the book of Numbers, it is written that God is not a man that He should lie, nor a son of man that He should change His mind. If He has spoken, He will fulfill it. In Isaiah, He declares that as the rain and snow come down from heaven and do not return without watering the earth, so His word will accomplish what He pleases. This means that every promise God has spoken over our lives is bound to come to pass. He is not swayed by time, circumstances, or human limitations. God's faithfulness is also evident in His mercy and grace. Even when people fail, He does not abandon them. He is always ready to forgive, restore, and uplift. King David, despite his many shortcomings, experienced God's faithfulness time and time again. He committed grave mistakes, yet he found restoration because God's covenant with him was unbreakable. The same applies to us today. Our mistakes do not disqualify us from God's faithfulness. He does not change His mind about us because of our failures. Instead, He uses His faithfulness to draw us back into alignment with His purpose. When we understand that God's faithfulness is eternal, it removes fear and anxiety. Many people live in worry, wondering if God will provide, if He will protect, if He will fulfill what He has promised. But worry is a sign of forgetting who God is. He has never failed before, and He will not start now. Even when things seem delayed, it is not denial, God's timing is perfect, and His plans are always for our ultimate good. What may seem like a setback is often a setup for something greater. He is working behind the scenes, arranging circumstances, preparing doors to open, and aligning everything according to His divine plan. One of the most profound examples of God's faithfulness is seen in the life of Jesus Christ. God promised a Savior from the beginning of time, and even though generations passed, He did not forget. At the appointed time, Jesus was born, lived among us, and fulfilled every prophecy concerning the Messiah. He became the ultimate evidence that God keeps His word. Through Christ, we see that God's faithfulness is not just about providing for our needs, but about securing our eternity. If He did not fail in the greatest promise, the promise of salvation, how much more will He be faithful in the details of our daily lives? Trusting in God's faithfulness is the key to peace. When we fully grasp that He is in control, we no longer have to strive, worry, or doubt. We can rest in the assurance that He who began a good work in us will bring it to completion. We can walk with confidence knowing that even when we do not see the full picture, God is still working. His faithfulness is the anchor of our souls, the foundation of our hope, and the reason we can move forward with boldness. God's faithfulness is not just something to believe in, it is something to live by. When we trust in His unwavering nature, we stop being controlled by fear, circumstances, or human opinions. We live with the confidence that no matter what happens, God will always be there, guiding, providing, and fulfilling His perfect plan. His faithfulness is not temporary, it is eternal. It does not waver with time, and it does not depend on our performance. It is the very essence of who He is. And because of that, we can trust Him completely, knowing that He will never fail us. Life is filled with moments of difficulty, trials, and hardships. No one is exempt from challenges, but how we respond to them determines our level of trust in God. Many people believe that faith means the absence of struggles. But the truth is that faith is developed through struggles. It is in the moments of testing that our trust in God is refined and strengthened. Just as gold is purified through fire, God does not test us to break us. He tests us to build us. He allows challenges not to destroy our faith, but to deepen our dependence on Him. Every great man or woman of faith in history has gone through a season of testing. Abraham, known as the father of faith, was tested when God asked him to sacrifice his son, Isaac. This was not an easy test. Isaac was not just his son, he was the fulfillment of God's promise. But Abraham's response was one of trust. He believed that God would still provide and fulfill His word, even if it meant raising Isaac from the dead. In the end, God provided a ram as a substitute, proving that He never intended to take Isaac, but rather to test Abraham's heart. Through that experience, Abraham's trust in God reached new heights. Joseph is another example of how testing strengthens trust. As a young man, he received dreams from God that he would become a great ruler. However, instead of walking straight into that destiny, he was thrown into a pit by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. For years it seemed as if God had forgotten him. But Joseph never lost his faith. He remained faithful in every circumstance, trusting that God was still in control. When the appointed time came, Joseph was elevated to a position of power, and he realized that every trial he had faced was preparing him for the responsibility he was about to carry. Testing does not mean that God is punishing us. Many people, when they face trials, immediately assume that they have done something wrong. But the truth is, some of the greatest challenges come not because we are out of God's will, but because we are walking in it. Jesus himself was tested in the wilderness. Before beginning his ministry, he fasted for 40 days and was tempted by the devil. Yet he overcame every temptation by standing on God's word. This shows us that testing is often a prerequisite for promotion. Before God takes us to the next level, he allows us to go through situations that will prepare us for the weight of the blessings he is about to release. One of the most important things to remember about testing is that it reveals the true condition of our faith. It is easy to trust God when everything is going well, when finances are stable, relationships are flourishing, and doors are opening. But the real test comes when things are not going as planned. Do we still trust God when we lose a job? Do we still believe in his goodness when a prayer goes unanswered? Do we still hold on to his promises when delays come? True trust is not tested in comfort. It is tested in crisis. And the more we endure, the stronger our faith becomes. Testing also teaches us patience. In a world that values instant gratification, waiting on God's timing can be difficult. But patience is a key ingredient in spiritual maturity. When we go through trials, we learn to rely on God's schedule rather than our own. We learn that delays are not denials and that God's ways are higher than our ways. Many times we want immediate answers, but God allows seasons of waiting to refine our character, build endurance, and develop perseverance. Another powerful aspect of testing is that it builds spiritual resilience. When we successfully endure one test, it prepares us for the next. David, before facing Goliath, had already fought and defeated lions and bears while protecting his sheep. Those smaller battles prepared him for the greater victory ahead. Likewise, every test we face is training for something greater. The lessons we learn in the wilderness equip us to stand strong when bigger challenges arise. Testing also deepens our relationship with God. When we face difficulties, we are driven to seek him more, pray more, and depend on his guidance. Many of the Psalms were written by David during times of distress. He poured out his heart to God, and in doing so, he grew closer to him. Trials push us into deeper communion with God. They remind us that we cannot rely on our own strength, but must depend fully on him. One of the most comforting truths about testing is that God always provides the grace to endure it. He never allows us to go through something beyond what we can handle. In every test, there is a way of escape. Sometimes the escape is deliverance, other times it is endurance, but no matter what, God is with us in the process. Just as he was with Daniel in the lion's den, with the 3 Hebrew boys in the fire, and with Paul and Silas in prison, he is with us in our trials. His presence is our guarantee that we will not be defeated. Testing is temporary. No season of difficulty lasts forever. Trials have an expiration date. The night may be long, but morning will come. If we hold on and remain faithful, we will see the goodness of God. Every test we pass moves us closer to the fulfillment of God's promises. And when we come out on the other side, we will have a testimony of his faithfulness, a deeper trust in his plan, and a faith that cannot be shaken. One of the greatest reasons people struggle with trust is because they do not fully understand their purpose. When a person lacks vision, they are easily discouraged by obstacles, setbacks, and delays. Vision gives direction, and purpose gives meaning to every season of life, including the difficult ones. Without vision, challenges feel like punishments and struggles seem meaningless. But when you have a clear understanding of your purpose, you realize that every experience, good or bad, is shaping you for what lies ahead. Trusting God becomes easier when you understand that He is working through every situation to bring you into the fullness of your destiny. Vision is not something we create for ourselves. It is something God reveals to us. Every person was created with a specific purpose in mind. Before we were born, God had already designed a plan for our lives. This means that no one is an accident and no experience is wasted. The circumstances of our birth, the challenges we face, and the opportunities that come our way are all part of a bigger picture. When we understand this, we begin to see life differently. Instead of focusing on temporary struggles, we shift our attention to the bigger plan that God is unfolding. One of the clearest examples of vision and purpose is found in the life of Jesus. He came into the world with a clear mission: to redeem humanity. Because He knew His purpose, He was able to endure suffering, rejection, and even death on the cross. He did not allow the opinions of others to distract Him. He did not let opposition shake Him. Even when He was falsely accused, beaten, and crucified, He remained focused on the vision. His trust in God was unshaken because He understood that everything He went through was leading to a greater glory. In the same way, when we embrace God's vision for our lives, we become resilient. We stop being moved by temporary pain and start seeing trials as stepping stones to something greater. Another powerful example of vision shaping trust is the life of Joseph. As a young boy, he had dreams that one day he would be a great leader. But instead of moving straight into that destiny, he went through years of hardship. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. If he had no vision, he could have given up in despair. But because he understood that God had a greater plan, he remained faithful. Even in prison, he trusted God. Even in slavery, he remained committed to excellence. In the end, Joseph's vision was fulfilled, and he became a ruler in Egypt. His story teaches us that vision sustains us during difficult times. When we know where we are going, we are less likely to be discouraged by temporary setbacks. Purpose also plays a crucial role in developing trust in God. Many people struggle with trust because they feel like their lives are directionless. They go from one challenge to another, not understanding why they are facing certain difficulties. But when a person discovers their purpose, everything begins to make sense. Purpose gives meaning to pain. It transforms suffering into preparation. It turns challenges into opportunities for growth. When we know that God has a purpose for us, we stop seeing difficulties as punishments and start seeing them as training. Trusting God becomes easier when we realize that He sees the bigger picture. Often we only see what is happening in the present, but God sees the end from the beginning. He knows what He is preparing us for. A child, when taken to school, may not always understand why they have to study, do homework, or take exams. But the parent understands that education is preparing the child for a successful future. In the same way, God allows us to go through certain experiences because He is preparing us for a greater purpose. If we could see what He sees, we would not doubt or complain. We would trust. One of the reasons people abandon their faith is because they lose sight of the vision. When difficulties arise, they become so focused on the problem that they forget the purpose. But true faith means keeping our eyes on the vision, even when things are tough. The Apostle Paul went through shipwrecks, beatings, imprisonment, and rejection, yet he never lost faith. Why? Because he had a vision. He knew that his life had a purpose beyond his temporary suffering. He trusted God completely because he understood that every experience was part of a divine plan. The power of vision and purpose also affects how we handle opportunities and challenges. When a person has no vision, They waste opportunities and react negatively to challenges. But when a person understands their purpose, they recognize that every experience is shaping them. David, before becoming king, spent years as a shepherd. He could have complained that watching sheep was beneath him, but instead he used that time to develop skills that would later help him defeat Goliath and lead a nation. His purpose shaped his perspective, and his trust in God remained firm because he understood that every season had a purpose. Vision also helps us trust in God's timing. Many people lose faith because they feel like their dreams are taking too long to come true. They compare themselves to others and wonder why their prayers are not answered immediately. But when we understand purpose, we realize that timing is part of God's plan. There is a process to everything. A seed does not become a tree overnight. It takes time to grow, develop roots, and bear fruit. In the same way, God takes us through seasons of preparation before bringing us into the fulfillment of our destiny. If we trust the process, we will not be discouraged by delays. Vision and purpose remove fear and anxiety. When we know that God has a plan for our lives, we stop worrying about the future. We stop being afraid of failure because we know that even setbacks are part of the journey. We develop an unshakable trust in God because we realize that He is in control. No matter what happens, He is guiding us toward His perfect plan. And when we walk in that confidence, we live with boldness, faith, and unwavering trust in His divine purpose. Endurance is one of the most important qualities needed to receive the fulfillment of God's promises. Many people start with excitement and passion, but when challenges arise, they begin to doubt, slow down, or even give up. However, God's promises are not for those who give up halfway. They are for those who endure until the end. In every aspect of life, endurance is what separates those who succeed from those who fail. Just as an athlete must train consistently to win a race, a believer must develop spiritual endurance to receive what God has planned. Without endurance, trust weakens and faith diminishes. But when we remain steadfast, we eventually see the fulfillment of every promise. One of the reasons endurance is necessary is because God's promises often take time to manifest. Throughout the Bible, we see that God does not always work on human schedules. Abraham was promised a son, but he had to wait 25 years before Isaac was born. Joseph had a dream that he would be a ruler, but he endured years of slavery and imprisonment before that vision became reality. Even David, who was anointed as king in his youth, had to go through years of trials before he actually sat on the throne. If these men had given up midway, they would have never seen the fulfillment of God's promises. Their endurance allowed them to inherit what was already destined for them. Endurance is not just about waiting, it is about waiting with faith and patience. Some people wait, but they do so with doubt, frustration, and negativity. They complain about delays, question God's timing, and sometimes try to take matters into their own hands. But true endurance is trusting that God's timing is perfect, even when it does not match our expectations. It is believing that every delay has a purpose and that what God has promised will come to pass at the right time. When we endure with faith, we demonstrate our trust in God's sovereignty. We acknowledge that He knows what is best and that He is working behind the scenes, even when we cannot see it. Another reason endurance is essential is because the process shapes us for the promise. Many times, people want the blessing without the preparation. But God, in His wisdom, allows us to go through seasons of endurance to refine our character, strengthen our faith, and prepare us for the responsibility that comes with His blessings. A student cannot receive a degree without going through years of study and examinations. A farmer cannot expect a harvest without first enduring months of planting, watering, and waiting. In the same way, God allows seasons of endurance so that we are fully prepared to handle the blessings He is about to release. If we receive a blessing prematurely, we may not have the maturity, wisdom, or strength to sustain it. Endurance also builds resilience. Every challenge we face strengthens us for greater battles ahead. Just like muscles are built through resistance, faith is strengthened through trials. David was able to defeat Goliath because he had already endured battles against lions and bears while protecting his sheep. Those smaller battles prepared him for the greater victory. Likewise, every difficulty we endure today is equipping us for the greater things God has in store. If we run away from hardship, we will never develop the strength needed to handle bigger responsibilities. But when we endure, we grow in wisdom, strength, and faith.